Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is Kyle is Wonderful here with another wrestling review. This time it's AEW Dynamite from June 22nd, 2022. And it is the go home show. We are 4 days away from the Forbidden Door, co promoted with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it really, I'm as a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan myself, I'm beyond excited. If you want to hear my thoughts, I had a whole series of news I put out earlier today on the channel. It was a preview show, but I also reviewed Dark Elevation, Hey EW with RJ City, Being the Elite, and whatever promos we might have got in the Control Center / Road 2 from the YouTube side. So I did a review and / report on those five, as well as I had a good news section for the week. So go check that out. I know you might want not care about the preview part anymore, but I did talk all about those. But let's just get right into it. We have a lot going on. We'll talk about it as we go. This might be a long one, but we do have a lot to talk about, like I said, and we'll probably do a little bit of a preview of Forbidden Door. Even though we have Rampage still to go, we'll probably look at the Forbidden Door as it stands. Dynamite was live tonight from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we see a still image of Christian Cage, who, if you remember, um, turned heel last week, and after the Young Bucks won their first ever team to win the AEW World Tag Titles twice from the Jungle Express, Christian Cage beat up Jungle Boy, put him in the one-man concerto, and later on we could see on social media that Christian would talk trash to the mother and sister of Jungle Boy. So Tony or Excalibur says that we'll hear from Christian Cage later, but right after that, Bryan Danielson music hits. So that was some of the big news coming into today. And there was a report from Brian Alvarez that came out. Brian said that, and Brian Alvarez has been worked in the past and stuff. So you never know if he's being worked and or not just to single him out, but you never know if anybody's being worked. If Brian Danielson went to him himself and said something, it might just be fake news. But anyway, Brian Alvarez was correct. The news that came out earlier today was correct, and we'll get into that. If you didn't hear about it, you'll find out. But Brian Danielson music hits, the crowd cheers him on. Tony Schiavone's in the ring, and Brian tells Tony that he's got this. You're not needed here, so Tony leaves. And Brian has a really good promo here. He's really happy. And we haven't seen Brian since the Anarchy in the Arena pay-per-view. So the report from Brian Alvarez was that Brian has an undisclosed or undetermined or unknown injury coming out of the Anarchy in the Arena match at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. So that explains why we haven't seen Brian. We were told that Brian will address Forbidden Door and the Big Blood and Guts match next week on Dynamite. So this is what Brian Danielson's here to say. And Brian says, this is a great week to be an AEW fan, a great week to be a pro wrestling fan. He's not lying for sure. I've already got to watch two pretty good NJPW shows that had the whole tournament that Tomohiro Ishii ended up winning. So he's not lying, and it's going to end this Sunday with Forbidden Door. And tonight was good. Tonight was a good show. Sunday, so Daniel Bryan says Sunday is the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, an interpromotional pay-per-view between the two best pro wrestling companies in the world. That can be debated, but Daniel Bryan has a certain style of pro wrestling that he says is pro wrestling. So, and this tells us that he probably wouldn't say that if he didn't believe that kind of deal. You know how Bryan Danielson is. So the crowd chant. Oh wait, no. Brian says, but then in a week, you nearly got the complete opposite of that. That being the Forbidden Door pay-per-view with the two best pro wrestling companies in the world. Brian says the complete opposite of that will be on Dynamite next week with the Blood and Guts match, and the crowd chants Blood and Guts. So Brian Danielson says, I was expecting to be a part of both of those events, and the crowd groans loudly, and I slap my forehead. That means the rumors are true, because he said I was expecting to be part of those events. So you knew right then and there that this wasn't him coming out. and saying, "I'll be there. I'm gonna fight," because what Zack Sabre Jr. was supposed to be his opponent at Forbidden Door, and Zack Sabre Jr. did call out Bryan Danielson in the Dominion pay-per-view, which is the second biggest show of New Japan Pro Wrestling every year, and that's a dream match right there. Zack Sabre Jr. is and Bryan Danielson are considered the two best technical wrestlers in the world, and there's the Pro Wrestling Observer trophy that goes to the best technical wrestler in the world is called the Bryan Danielson Award, and it went to Zack Sabre Jr. pretty much every year that Bryan Danielson was Daniel Bryan over in WWE. Zack Sabre Jr. was winning it, but this last year, now that Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, has returned to pro wrestling, um, Bryan Danielson won his own award again. So that's a freaking dream match and a half. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that at this point. I believe that we'll probably get that match at some other point. I hope it's in an AEW ring, but I watch New Japan too, so I don't care where that match happens. But at some point, Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. should fight. So like I said, the crowd groans loudly when Bryan Danielson said that he's expecting to be a part of these events, and we all knew that at that point what that meant. Bryan says that Zack Sabre Jr. says he's the best technical wrestler in the world. I was excited to prove him wrong and crush his trachea at the same time, and I was excited for blood and guts as well. But I've got some good news and some bad news, Danielson says. The bad news is because of what Jericho and Hager did at Anarchy in the Arena, I am not cleared to compete at Forbidden Door or Blood and Guts. But my mind is at 100% capacity. I've come back from much worse. Nobody in the world can wrestle as good as me. And that's not even the good news. The good news is Eddie Kingston has said I'm a judgmental prick. Damn right I am. Because because of that, I have very high standards. I have found the one person I trust to take my place at Forbidden Door. The one person I trust that could take my place at Blood and Guts. The one person who can take out Zack Sabre Jr. and Jericho. You'll be astounded by what this person will do in AEW. The crowd does a who, like the New Day chant. And Bryan Danielson gets a smile on his face and he says, I didn't come out of the bad guy tunnel for no reason. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. You'll have to wait and order the pay-per-view to find out. Playing the heel here. That's pretty funny. Bryan Danielson goes to leave, but Zack Sabre Jr.'s music hits. Sabre Jr. comes out. JR does a good job of putting him over. If you guys don't know, Jim Ross has been doing the New Japan. Well, he did do a couple Wrestle Kingdoms where he called the action, but then for a few years now, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years, JR has been doing commentary for the Access TV New Japan shows where they rerun like good matches that happened maybe a month or so ago, like a month in delayed, but with like JR doing commentary and stuff. So he knows everyone well and puts over Zack Sabre Jr. well here. Zack Sabre Jr. yells at Bryan off of the mic. We don't hear what he says, and the segment just ends. So that tells us right there this is going to be a jam-packed episode. They didn't even have time to have Zack Sabre Jr. do anything. But let's circle back a little bit. It sounds like for the most part that Bryan Danielson is not going to be like out long. That's the idea I got from him. I don't think he's going to be out long, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, but I don't consider that long. Hopefully it's not like a situation where he's out until 2023. You never know. He's had all his neck injuries and concussion stuff and things in the past, and we don't want to speculate, but hopefully it's just something minor. And it didn't sound like he didn't say anything about surgery or anything like that. So that's one thing. Now let's go to the other part, the mystery person. We do find out when they run down the card later when Excalibur is out of breath and stumbles over his words because there was so much to tell and information to give while he was running down the pay-per-view card later on. But he mentions that the mystery opponent versus Zack Sabre Jr. is the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club. So that makes me think that the rumored former WWE superstar that has been rumored to maybe join AEW for a while. I'm pretty sure that by everything that Bryan Danielson said, that Cesaro will be the opponent to fight Zack Sabre Jr. and Cesaro will be the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club and will also be at Blood and Guts. That's my guess. It could be anyone in the world. It could literally be anybody, but my first guess is definitely Cesaro, and you're gonna hear that on every other podcast and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's what everybody thinks is gonna be Cesaro, and if it is Cesaro, I'm completely fine with that. It's not exactly Bryan Danielson versus um, Zack Sabre Jr., but Cesaro we know can go, and this is going to be Cesaro's first match out of the WWE realm, where he's handcuffed at what he can do in any particular match. So this is going to be like this is going to be insane. I think we're going to see Cesaro versus Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door, and Cesaro's just going to go out there and have the match of his life. I think that's easily going to be the match of the night, even though we've got a few more announcements to come later on in this show that sound like some pretty heavy duty matches. I think Zack Sabre Jr., if it is indeed Cesaro as the mystery opponent, we don't know. Nothing's confirmed. It's just a mystery opponent hand selected by Bryan Danielson himself to replace him, and it's going to be the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club. So I really, in my heart, believe that it will be Cesaro, and that's going to be a nasty, sick match of the night contender, maybe match of the year contender. Right now, match of the year, there's a few candidates, but probably that Briscoes versus FTR match during WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, I can't wait for that match in general. Whoever it's going to be, Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't have bad matches, so it could be someone that we all groan at, like, oh, it's this guy, but it's still going to be a good match. Anyway, we go into the back now. Moxley's there, and he's by himself. Nobody's interviewing, and Moxley says, "Well, they blinded my best friend with a fireball, and next week we'll find out if Jericho Appreciation Society can survive. Santana and Ortiz survived in the streets of New York City." Kingston survived in this cutthroat business for 20 years. Wheeler Yuta survived everything that the Blackpool Combat Club threw at him. So what can you guys do, basically? Because we survived everything. That's not him. That's me talking. Moxley says that the match against one of the best ever, Tanahashi, means the world to me. But tonight, it's just business. But on Sunday, it's completely personal, and I have no respect for anyone, including you, Tanahashi. And this goes back to Moxley has been wanting Tanahashi one-on-one. He's been saying that Tanahashi's been ducking him stuff for about 3 years now. Of course, a lot of that was because of the pandemic. They couldn't even cross the pond, the ocean to fight each other, but they've not been able to meet up, and that's one of the things we all wanted, that CM Punk match in CM Punk's hometown, but Moxley is such a good replacement because of that 3-year thing that we were just talking about. So that ends that little promo there. But yeah, Moxley will be out later. He's in that big tag match. So back in the arena, Orange Cassidy's music hits, and he's out with Roppongi Vice, that is Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, and all three come out to Cassidy's music. All three are members of the Chaos Stable in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Their newest member is Orange Cassidy. That happened a little while ago. Then they're gonna fight Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. They come out to Ospreay's music, and Excalibur brings up all the Juice Robinson stuff. If you missed my preview show, I talked all about how Juice Robinson put out a video on social media. If you don't know the whole story, I'll try and condense this as quick as possible. But Juice Robinson, who, if you guys don't even know who that is, it's CJ Parker. Think back to when Kevin Owens had his debut in NXT and got his nose broken. That was CJ Parker in that match. Shortly after that, CJ Parker left NXT and formed a really, really good babyface persona in Japan, where everybody loved him. He kind of had a ladies' man gimmick. He was tag teaming with David Flair, who we saw on Dynamite last week. Recently turned on David Flair, turned heel. That's the when I was talking about Brian Alvarez getting worked earlier, that's what I was referring to. He told Brian Alvarez, he being Juice Robinson, that he was done with the business and he was thinking about retiring. And all of a sudden, Juice Robinson shows back up in New Japan with the Bullet Club, all decked out in Bullet Club gear and acting like a cocky prick dick heel like the rest of the Bullet Club, which he had never been before. So anyway, I knew I said I'd make this short, but anyway, Juice Robinson had won the IWGP United States title that Will Ospreay now is the champion of. It was supposed to be Juice Robinson defending against Will Ospreay and Sonata at that Dominion card a couple weeks ago, but Juice Robinson had an emergency appendicitis surgery, had to get his appendix removed, couldn't travel to Japan, and New Japan Pro Wrestling officials took Juice Robinson out of that match, but kept it a title match. So Will Ospreay won the title and has yet to receive the actual title. There was no backup title that New Japan had for the United States title. It was just Juice Robinson still had the title in his home. Uh, he lives in the same house as Tony Storm, if you guys don't know. And so in their home, they have the United States title. So Juice Robinson put out this report, video yesterday. He was still in a hospital gown, but I'm pretty sure he's just at home recovering. But he tried to make it look like he's still in the hospital, which makes me think all this is a work again. And he said, like, Will Ospreay, you're not the champion. I'm the champion. And he holds up the title and he says, you're never getting this. I'm not going to give this to you, and stuff like that. So I do think that Juice Robinson will be in at Forbidden Door, maybe even after if you didn't know, Forbidden Door is going to be Orange Cassidy versus the champion Will Ospreay for the United States title. So I'm assuming Will Ospreay will win that match, and then Juice Robinson might come out at the end, maybe even hitting uh, Will with the title in the back of the head or something. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure we'll see Juice Robinson, who's part of the newest member, well, he's not even the newest member of Bullet Club anymore. The former X Division champion in Impact, Ace Austin, is actually the newest member of Bullet Club. Anyway, Excalibur does bring up Juice Robinson and how he has the title still, even though he's not the champion, even though he didn't lose. And so that what confirms in my mind, I brought it up on the previous show, that I do think Juice Robinson will be at Forbidden Door. But JR then puts over Ospreay really well, just like he was able to do with Zack Sabre Jr. because of all the Access TV shows JR has been commentating on. Tony says it was a really amazing match to watch with Ospreay and Dax last week. I totally agree. And Rocky Romero is going to start this match with Kyle Fletcher, one half of the Aussie Open. Rocky starts with a striking exchange and then tags in Trent. Trent stays in control, tags in Orange to a huge cheer. So don't forget, this is Orange Cassidy's first match back since his injury. I can't remember how long he's been out for, but wow, it was all the way back to the Revolution pay-per-view when he was in that ladder match that had like Keith Lee and Hobbs and Starks and a bunch of people in that ladder match. It was for the brass ring. But yeah, this is his first match back from that injury. I think he injured his shoulder. So big cheers for when Orange comes in. He does his pat. He goes in, gets into the corner, puts his hands in his pockets, and hits a big drop kick. And then Rocky tags in. Rocky tags Trent, and we get a triple team, and then into a bicep pose from all three, including Orange Cassidy. Aussie Open then catches dives on the outside to change the momentum. They all tried to dive onto them, but Aussie Open caught it, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So Will Ospreay then tags in when I think this is during the ad break, and takes apart Trent. So Ospreay's just destroying Trent Beretta during the ad break here. Ospreay hits a beautiful spinning backbreaker and then tags out. Trent's in real trouble, but he counters an Aussie Open double team attempt. And then right when we come back from the picture-in-picture ad break, Trent gets the tag to Orange, who takes out both of the Aussie Open guys. The crowd's going wild at this point. Ospreay then looks Ospreay's watching all this and looks either confused or concerned or both. Then Trent, Rocky, and Orange all dive to the outside at the same time, hitting all three members of United Empire. Ospreay's now in with Orange, the two guys that are going to fight on Sunday. They both counter each other a lot, so that definitely tells you that's going to be a great match. Definitely a sleeper. I don't think it's going to be as good as Zack Sabre Jr. and Cesaro, if it is indeed Cesaro, but that's going to be a good match nonetheless. And Orange hits a stun dog millionaire, and the crowd chants "Holy S!" And Rocky then Rocky's in and takes out Mark Davis, or Mark Davis is also in, so they both tag out after that move. Rocky loses a chop battle, and because Rocky's the smallest man in this match by far. Tag to Kyle of the United Empire in the Aussie Open and get a big double team move, ending with like a sit down power bomb by the Aussie Open. Rocky Romero's just barely able to kick out. Then everyone comes in and hits like a big move, but the Trent Beretta is the last one to hit it. So Trent then gets tagged in because he goes back out, gets tagged in, goes for a strong zero, his finisher, the Dude Buster. But Ospreay's it's also the Vertebreaker, if you didn't know. Ospreay's able to hit a super kick while he's trying to do the Vertebreaker, which turns this into one of the Aussie Open guys doing a Canadian Destroyer. That was a really cool move. Ospreay then does the Fosbury flop to the outside and lands on his feet. That was pretty nasty. Um, just a quick note, I had noted at a point, I had watched like all the events from the independent scene from the WrestleMania weekend, and by far the most popular move that I saw everyone doing was the Fosbury flop to the outside. So just one quick thing to note, but really well done here. Picture perfect by Ospreay, and he lands on his feet, which, wow, that's kind of being risky for a throwaway television 6-man tag. But Ospreay, just that's what makes him a good wrestler. Orange then tags in and hits the orange punch on Mark of the Aussie Open for the 1-2-3. Pretty crazy match here. The crowd loved it. I loved it. Immediately, Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan, the new IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, come out. Remember, they're part of United Empire as well. They showed up on Dynamite before the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. They were the first ones from New Japan to come over, if you remember. So they're the ones that are going to be fighting FTR and Roppongi Vice, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta for not only the IWGP heavyweight titles, but the ROH titles as well. Winner takes all, one fall to a finish. And that's one of those matches. Just a quick side note, anybody could win that. There's no reason that FTR couldn't win the New Japan titles. There's no reason the United Empire guys couldn't win the ROH titles, and there's no reason that Roppongi Vice could win both. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Truly, either team can win. It's winner take all, so there's no clear answer. But like I said, Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan came down right after the match to come. United Empire got like a 5-man huddle and decide to attack the other 3 men. But then the FTR's music hits, the crowd erupts, and Ospreay calls off his crew and bails. And AEW is doing a great job of just previewing everything right now. Like they previewed 2 matches in this one. They previewed the Zack Sabre Jr. match and a new member of Blackpool Combat Club. And we also got a little preview of the main event with that Moxley promo. So everything's going pretty well so far about getting people hyped for the pay-per-view Sunday. After that, we go to the back, and Sanjay Dutt is going crazy with a promo. He had one of these crazy promos on Dark last night as well. Go check out my Dark and Elevation review during the preview show that I had earlier when I was talking all about it. But Satnam Singh and Jay Lethal are also with Sanjay. Lethal says when Samoa Joe returns, whenever he does, because it's been a month and the clock is ticking, Joe. But when you do, I'm taking that Ring of Honor television title because I'm the longest reigning Ring of Honor television champion of all time. So that's definitely, I don't know what's been up with Joe. He didn't appear at Impact Slammiversary either, even though Kazarian was there. So there's at least some kind of working agreement still between AEW and Impact. But no Samoa Joe at that event, and we haven't seen Samoa Joe in a month now. So I wonder what's up with him. But when he does return, it looks like Jay Lethal will be the next contender. And while we're talking about ROH titles being on the line, also what happened on Dark, if you missed my previous show, was Tony Nese got not a big win, but a squash win, but it was under pure rules, and which told me that he was definitely going to be the next contender for Wheeler Yuta's ROH Pure title. And sure enough, right after the match, they had an interview. Mark Sterling said it's time for Tony Nese to have gold, and they challenged Yuta. Later on in the show, they had Yuta in a backstage promo. Pretty good promo by Yuta. He basically said, "No one can touch me under pure rules. I don't care that it's one day before Blood and Guts. I'll take you on, Tony Nese." So there is going to be a ROH Pure title match, Wheeler Yuta versus Tony Nese on next Tuesday's Dark. If you don't catch the Dark show, make sure you catch my preview show next week. So After that, we get on. Normally, I wouldn't mention this, but they do the whole ad for the AEW and DraftKings promoted thing. And man, like the only thing I watch other than wrestling is sports, and I've been bombarded with all these DraftKings stuff, and that DraftKings chick, she just pops up everywhere for me. So I'm so sick of seeing her, and I can't believe they're even invading AEW of all things. Like nothing is sacred, but I can do nothing but laugh. But anyway, we go to an ad break. When we come back, Tony Schiavone's in the ring, and he introduces Christian Cage. So here we go. This should be good. I've been waiting for this all week. We know Christian Cage can cut some great promos, especially as a heel. And boy, let me tell you, this is a great heel promo and great heel segment. Everything I love about Christian Cage. This is exactly how you use Christian. Like maybe have him wrestle once a month, but have him cut a promo as much as often. So, and quick side note, I love that Christian still has that same music that he had in TNA when he had his run as TNA champion back in like 06, 07. So I love that music. Christian comes out. He's really sharply dressed and he looks in a bad mood. Probably because he's forced to come out here and explain his actions. That's how you can kind of explain that. That's my thinking anyway. But the crowd boos and won't even let Christian talk. They're booing Christian so much because they love Jungle Boy. And Christian says that I know the people of Milwaukee aren't very intelligent, but shut your damn mouth. So here we go. This is definitely going to be a good heel segment here. Christian says, um, this goes all the way back to when Jungle Boy eliminated me from the Casino Battle Royal about a year ago. And Tony Schiavone's like, well, that's a little petty. And which was funny. And then Christian's like, yeah, well, it is petty, but even worse was the reaction I got from the fans when I was eliminated in that Battle Royal. Um, none of you showed me any respect. So Christian going with the whole "you didn't respect me," they probably cheered. I'm guessing. I know I watched it, but I can't remember. But I'm guessing they cheered when Jungle Boy eliminated Christian Cage. So Christian says he missed out on money and the world title thanks to you, Jungle Boy. And the crowd chants, "Shut the F up." So Christian goes off on a tangent about social media and how the internet wrestling community sucks and their opinion sucks, kind of like MJF was saying in his pipe bomb a few weeks ago. And then Christian says a whole lot more. So you definitely need to go watch this promo. He talks for a little bit a while here where I couldn't even keep up with my notes, but it's definitely a perfect heel promo. Christian says he's just here to make money. And he tells everyone, including Jungle Boy, try having a match where people will talk about it longer than a week. I had a match where they talk about it so much they named a pay-per-view after it, talking about how TLC became a pay-per-view. It was such a big match. Um, then Christian says, the one time I wasn't there for you, Jungle Boy, and you lost the title. Well, now I'm going to have to get my hands dirty, and it pisses me off. So I guess that's why he's pissed off. And then they showed the incident that we didn't see on TV, but it was on social media where Christian Cage has some great heel stuff yelling at um, Jungle Boy's mom and sister, who we see ringside quite often. They travel to a lot of these shows, and Christian is there yelling at the mom and sister, and he tells his mom that um, you raised a piece of ass and like cussing at her and stuff and demeaning everything. So that was pretty funny. And we see a little bit of that. We come back and then Christian says, well, Jungle Boy's mom wanted me to be Jungle Boy's father, but you have a father and he died. So that was a low blow right there. Great heel stuff, really. Like you may as well go low blow as long as you talk things beforehand between Jungle Boy and the rest of the family, and as long as they say they're okay with it, that's fine. Like where it's not okay is when like um, Charlotte and Paige had an agreement between each other to talk about Charlotte's dead brother, but Charlotte did not talk to her own family. So like Ric Flair and some of the rest of the family members were pretty upset with that comment about Paige talking bad about um, the passed away brother of Charlotte. But yeah, as long as Christian, Jungle Boy, and the family agreed to this, I'm sure they did because um, they had to have talked to each other after the show last week at the very least, or before the show. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you don't know, Jungle Boy's father is famous actor Luke Perry from 90210 fame and other movies and shows, and he passed away a few years ago now. I can't remember what happened, so I'm not gonna speculate. But it was an unfortunate and untimely passing. So Christian digging deep here, saying that his mom wanted Christian to be Jungle Boy's new father, but he already had a father and he died. So Christian says, "Enjoy your early retirement at 25 years old. When I'm finished with you." Luchasaurus apparently has heard enough. There's no I think he does come down to the music actually, but it would have been better if he didn't. Maybe he didn't. But Luchasaurus comes down and starts choking Christian. He's heard enough. Christian then is like yelling that he needs to talk to Luchasaurus. I've been meaning to talk to you. Stop. Like, I need to talk to you. And while Christian is still getting choked, he says, "Remember what happened to Marco?" So we were cutting real deep with this on going shoot style by bringing up Marco Stunt, the former, the third member of Jurassic Express, little Marco Stunt, who was there for a while, but we just kind of vanished off TV after a while, and then got not released, but his contract didn't get renewed, so he's not even with the company right now. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure the contract lapse, but maybe he's still under contract now that they're bringing his name up. But anyway, this is enough to make Luchasaurus think. We don't know what happened to Marco other than he's not on TV anymore, so we're just to assume that at this point. But Christian tells Luchasaurus, "You're like a son to me," and Christian hugs Luchasaurus now that he stopped choking him. And Luchasaurus backs down. We get a cheeky smile behind the back of Luchasaurus from Christian Cage, and they walk off together. So that's interesting. Seemingly Luchasaurus heel turn. I think that's smart. Let's try Jungle Boy on a singles run. Luchasaurus seems like he could be a cool heel, a cool lackey for Christian. Christian can be the mouthpiece for a heel Luchasaurus going forward, where Luchasaurus destroys people and has good matches while Christian does the promos and stuff for him. That could definitely be a winning formula going forward. I could see Luchasaurus versus Wardlow for the TNT title being a real good match. Anyway, we get a so they walked off together, and we get a recap of Sting's return. If you didn't see it on Rampage, Sting returned, and him and Darby Allin were able to take out Bobby Fish the same way that they took out Sting. We did not see Bobby Fish tonight, so we're to assume that they injured Bobby Fish's leg, but it's just a storyline injury. So Bobby Fish probably just taking a little bit of time off. In the back now, after the recap, we see the Young Bucks and Kyle O'Reilly, and with Brandon Cutler as the cameraman. And since the Young Bucks said, "What, you think we weren't going to be at Forbidden Door? We're actually the locksmiths that created the key for the Forbidden Door. Of course we'll be there." And then they say it's going to be the Young Bucks, Hikuleo, and El Phantasmo from the Bullet Club versus Sting and whoever you can get, the three guys that can get the team with them. So we don't know yet who the cronies will be. We're to assume that Darby Allin is going to be one of them, and then we'll find out later on. I never would have guessed this, but we do find out later on. I guess I could tell you now. It ends up being LIJ members from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Shingo and Hiromu Takahashi, which is definitely a surprise. If we were going the LIJ route, I would have preferred Shingo and Naito, but Hiromu is awesome as well, and it'll be great to see him there. And it should be a really good match. El Phantasmo's amazing. Hikuleo's all right. He's a big guy that can do all right stuff. We saw him on either Dynamite or I think it was Dynamite a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that's an announced match. And spoiler alert, no Kenny Omega tonight, no teases of Kenny Omega tonight. That was one of the big rumors coming in. There was rumors from the Super J-Cast podcast, who normally have reliable sources. There was also hints dropped that Brooms, in reference to the cleaner, on being the elite from Hangman Page. And people were thinking that maybe Kenny Omega will be there, and maybe Kenny Omega will still make an appearance at Forbidden Door, just not in a wrestling capacity. Or maybe Kenny Omega is the latest member of Blackpool Combat Club. Can you imagine that? So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, Young Bucks, we knew they weren't in a match yet. And it seems that Kyle O'Reilly, we find out later that Sting and Darby say, "Oh, Kyle O'Reilly, you're saying you're injured?" Well, we don't believe it. But yeah, they're saying Kyle O'Reilly is injured, quote unquote, and that's why he can't be in this match. It'll be the Young Bucks, Hikuleo, and El Phantasmo. So they will represent the Bullet Club. And for whatever reason, they tell us when the graphic for the match comes up later that the team of Sting, Darby Allin, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi, their name will be the Dudes with Attitudes, which is hilarious. So it's the Dude with Attitudes versus Bullet Club, and that'll be a pretty fun match. Not a match of the night contender, but definitely just a fun match. So we go back to the arena. Malikai Black's making his really cool entrance. He looks amazing. Great entrance, great stuff here. Malikai Black is all by himself. Penta Obscuro is next, and he's all in black. Um, Looking really cool. Malakai's got a little bit of gold on his black trunks. We get this is one of those matches you're just gonna have to go watch it. You knew going in that this match was gonna be amazing. This is an All Atlantic qualifying match for the final spot and the 4-way for the first ever All Atlantic champion. Already confirmed or already qualified is Miro, Pac, and Tomohiro Ishii. So the winner of this match was going to join those three, and a little bit of the drama was off the table for anybody that follows the news. We knew going into this match that three people in general, or three people that were named anyway, were blackballed or banned from attending or being any part of the Forbidden Door event, and that is Andrade El Idolo, Penta, Obscuro, and Ray Phoenix. And that is all because of their associations with AAA. There's other people that are associated with AAA as well that I don't think were on the ban list, such as a Matt Hardy or a Johnny Elite if they wanted something like that. So it seemed to me like it was only if you were associated with AAA and you were Mexican. CMLL, the longtime partner of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and CML is the eternal rival, the big rival of AAA in Mexico. So that explains why Orange Cassidy is the opponent for Will Ospreay. It was originally, the rumor anyway says it was originally supposed to be Will Ospreay versus Andre El Idolo, which is unfortunate for Andrade because he I think he came up in CMLL, but once he went to the United States, and then when he returned recently to Mexico, Andrade went to AAA instead. So Andrade's only had like 1, 2, or maybe 3 at the most matches in AAA, but he was banned from attending. So all of that saying that I knew, and anybody else that follows the news knew, that Malachi Black was always going to win this match because Pentagon's on the banned list. But that doesn't mean that if you know exactly who's going to win, it doesn't mean it doesn't have the potential for a good match. This is an amazing match. It's even better than it sounds on paper. They've got a over 6 month long rivalry now with a little bit more incentive with the All Atlantic Championship on the line. You got to go watch this match for yourself. It was too fast paced and crazy for me to take notes, but I did take a little bit of notes. I did note we got a super fast start with a bunch of dives and counters. Pentagon lands hard on his tailbone on a dive to the outside. I thought that might be a storyline that they might work on the back or something later on. I don't think it really ever came into play. So he probably really did hurt his tailbone on that dive to the outside. Penta Obscuro did. But we get some really good action as we go to the pitcher break. Excalibur can't even finish his sentence before they go to break. So that tells you, again, how much they're trying to jam pack into this episode tonight. Excalibur can't even finish the join us. We're going to be the pitcher break, and we'll be right back. They cut him off on his sentence all night when he's doing that. So that's something to note and kind of funny. But Malachi is in control. During that, we get a great springboard move that buys Penta some rest. When we get back from break, Penta is able to stay in control. It's a really nice springboard crossbody. Penta nearly slaps Malakai's soul out of his chest with a big overhand chop. Made a really loud noise. That was nice. Penta then hits a rolling cutter for a near fall. We get some insane action that's way too hard to take notes of. So definitely, again, go watch this match. and there's a decent amount of selling in this match. So it's definitely more of like an NXT Black and Gold takeover match as opposed to like a Lucha match or a Young Bucks match where it's more of a spot fest with less selling. There is a lot of selling in this match, which makes this match like way better than those spot fest type match, in my own opinion. When it comes to wrestling, everything's eye of the beholder, beauty's in your own eyes kind of deal. But anyway, Malikai hits the black mass out of nowhere when this match was really heating up and gets the 1, 2, 3. So uh, right after the match ends, Malikai, of course, won, and Pac runs down, gets in Malakai's face. Those are going to be two of the people in the match. And then Miro interrupts on the screen with a amazing promo. I didn't write down word for word what Miro said here because I was just taking it all in. And it was so amazing. But basically, Miro vows to defeat everyone and then redeem the pagans. And then we go to ad break. So no appearance from Tomohiro Ishii. That was just yesterday that he had his big match. So we had 2 matches in a row, one big match, a grueling 20-minute match against Kanemaru on Monday, and then Tuesday yesterday he had another long match against Clark Connors. So it's understandable that Ishii couldn't get here tonight. No sense in him sending in a video at this point. We have seen Ishii on the AEW television before, so. And if people don't know who he is, they're about to find out. When him and Miro get in the ring together, they basically have about the same body shape and size and style of wrestling. So they're just going to go crazy while Malachi and Pat go crazy over here in the corner, intermingling every now and then. But that's just going to be a crazy match. Definitely a contender for match of the night. No doubt. There's so many contenders for match of the night, which really goes to show you how good this pay-per-view is going to be. But yeah, that was a good promo by Miro. Check that one out too at the end of this match, and we'll make sure you go watch this match. When we come back from break, we get a Wardlow video package. I was wondering if we weren't going to see Wardlow at all, and this is all we get of Wardlow, is just a little video package. I assume the Wardlow stories will start ramping up after Forbidden Door. It seemed that there was no good match for Wardlow to match up with at Forbidden Door, so um, that explains why he's been in kind of on the back burner, which kind of sucks. Wardlow was really, really heated up, and we kind of needed Wardlow, and that could have affected some of the ratings because not only was CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and MJF off of television, but Wardlow was put on the back burner in this feud with a manager slash lawyer. But we do know what's on the horizon with Wardlow. So in this video package, Wardlow says he wants that TNT title, like he was saying. I heard a lot of people like really not able. I'm not gonna say not able to understand, but they think the writing is stupid for Wardlow to say that he didn't want the interim title. He wants to fight CM Punk when he's back for the real title. It's not, and they're all like, "Well, if you're the interim channel champion, you get the match against CM Punk." Well, Wardlow, first of all, Wardlow's not worried about getting a match. Wardlow assumes that he's going to win every single match he's going to be in, so it's no problem to become number one contender. And then second of all, um, I guess that's the only point, but Wardlow's main point was he didn't want his first ever AEW championship, his crowning moment, to have an asterisk under it that said interim. Even if he goes on to beat CM Punk later on, it's still when he first won it has that asterisk under it where it's interim. And that's kind of what he meant. I think a lot of people took it as like, um, what, you can still get the match against CM Punk if you're interim champion. What are you talking about? But it was the whole he didn't want the asterisk type deal. I know a lot of these fans don't watch sports, so they probably don't even understand like the asterisk stuff and whatnot. But anyway, Wardlow is going to go for the TNT title, like we know. We're assuming he's going to beat Scorpio Sky. No offense to Scorpio Sky, he's been doing some good stuff, but Wardlow's definitely going to beat him. So Wardlow says whenever Scorpio Sky is healed from injury, which I don't remember Scorpio Sky being injured, but maybe they told us at a point. There's just been so much wrestling news and stuff going on that it's hard to remember maybe a Scorpio Sky injury. But anyway, Wardlow ends the video package by saying, "I'll welcome Scorpio Sky to Wardlow's world," which is a terrible catchphrase. Hopefully they can keep the fire with Wardlow and stop doing Goldberg stuff. I don't need to see him compared to Goldberg every second. Anyway, we go back out to the ring. Adam Cole music hits, and he's going to be on commentary for this next match. This next match was the one match. We usually almost always get one match added late in the right before the card or right before the event starts. Usually 2, 3, 4 hours before the match starts, Tony Khan will add one more match and he'll announce it on Twitter. This time it was Silas Young versus Hangman Page. I thought that was a pretty cool match. If you guys don't know Silas Young, he has the gimmick of the last real man alive. He's just a brawler type, no nonsense. He's got like balding hair and like a mustache and just that kind of guy. He hangs out with a guy named the Beer City Bruiser, and they both come from Milwaukee. So when I saw this on Twitter, I had forgotten that Silas Young was from Milwaukee, but of course he is. He hangs out with the Beer City Bruiser. The Beer City is another nickname for Milwaukee. So Silas Young comes out and gets a huge cheer from the crowd because he's from Milwaukee. So what I did know, I like I said, I forgot he was from Milwaukee, but what I did know is that Hangman Page and Silas Young knew each other well from their time in ROH together. So I was assuming this was going to be a really good match. Hangman comes out second to some good cheers, and the match starts with some really great grappling. We get Page kicks him in the face, and then they exchange chops in the corner, all of them super loud. Silas Young pokes Hangman in the eyes, so Silas showing that he's a heel or whatever, even though he's in his hometown. The crowd really doesn't boo too much, though. They like both guys here. Silas then throws Page into the ring after they went on outside and turns to yell at the crowd. So Silas is on ringside next to the ring, threw Page back in the ring, turned around to yell at the crowd. When Silas turned back to go in the ring, he turns right into a big lariat from Page. So that was a really cool spot. Page then capitalizes on that one by hitting a moonsault off the top rope to the outside, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So really good stuff so far. It gets even better. This is another match you guys got to go watch. You might look at this match on paper, especially if you've never seen Silas Young in your life, and think maybe this is just a throwaway match and it's going to be your same old stuff. No, definitely go watch this match. This was a great match. Silas then gains control by throwing Page into the rope's neck first. Silas gets some offense in on Page, who then counters a spear. Page does, but Silas is able to hit a nasty hanging off the rope, like draping, hanging, twisting suplex off the rope. So that was awesome. When we get back from the picture-in-picture break, both men are down trying to catch their breath. They get up and exchange strikes. Hangman hits a fallaway slam. He nips up and smiles at the camera, so Hangman's having fun out here. Hangman counters another move and hits 2 springboard moves in a row. So Hangman doing a lot of high flying springboard moves here. We get a top rope clothesline, and then Tony asks Cole, "Are you awake?" Because Cole has been quiet forever. Remember, he's on commentary. Cole tells Tony to shut your mouth and don't ever speak to me again. So that was kind of funny. Silas hits some more nasty moves and misses a sick-looking flipping springboard moonsault. But he misses it, like I said. Hangman then hits the buckshot lariat and gets the 1-2-3 for the win. Great match. Great decision to have Silas Young here in his hometown. Just threw down a really good match. I'm not quite sure what Silas Young's been up to. I'm pretty sure he was in ROH up until it folded, but he wasn't one of those people that went to Impact or anywhere else that I knew. But I'm sure he's been around the independent scene, probably somewhere in the Milwaukee area. But yeah, Hangman hits buckshot lariat for the win. That was a good match. Adam Cole grabs a microphone and starts talking like 2 seconds after the match ends. And he says, "Who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby?" But before Adam Cole can say a word, Switchblade Jay White's music hits. Jay White does come out and he says, "Sorry to Adam Cole, but for interrupting story time, but as the catalyst, I'm responsible for all of AEW and Forbidden Door." So if you don't know, Jay White's whole story is that he beat which he did beat and won against Kenny Omega, and then a little bit shortly after that is when Kenny Omega left New Japan to form AEW. So Jay White's whole thing is that he's responsible for AEW being born because he ran Kenny Omega out of Japan and had to go start his own company. So that's a pretty cool thing. So that's what Jay White was talking about here, if you didn't know what he was talking about. Jay White says, my opponent at Forbidden Door can't be you, Adam Cole, because you lost the Hangman. And then he pauses, and then he says, twice. So I love that they brought that up. It's a valid point. It's something that all the podcasts were talking about when they were teasing this whole thing, how like Adam Cole has already lost the Hangman Page twice recently. And Jay White throws that in Adam Cole's face. So Adam Cole walks off mad, but he doesn't completely leave the scene. He's just kind of hanging out on the stage. So while Jay White walks to the ring to get in the ring with Hangman, Jay White looks at Hangman and says, well, it won't be you either. And Hangman slaps the mic out of Jay's hand and starts punching him. Cole comes back and low blows Page so that we start to get a double team with Switchblade and Adam Cole. Cole seems to have caught. Wait, no. So at a point here, Cole like looks like he might hit Jay White like and turn on him and stab him in the back, but Jay White saw it and they just stare at each other and Cole like backs down. And then as we're all taking that in, all of a sudden you hear the familiar sound of coins hitting the floor. And oh my gosh, the rumors are true, or what they said was false. A lot of people were saying, well, Adam Cole's a heel, so he's probably lying when he said Okada won't be there. But yes, Okada will be there. The coins hitting the floor sound hits. Okada's here to make the save. Okada saves Hangman Page. Then Okada and Page stare down. So huge moment here. Okada is in AEW on Dynamite. Jay White and Cole then jump back in, but Okada catches Jay and is about to hit him with the Rainmaker Lariat, but Jay White is able to break free, and him and Cole run away. So, and then the segment ends. So, wow. Remember, Cole was like, no, Okada's not going to be there. And then at a point before that, remember, this whole storyline started with Hangman Page saying he wanted to fight Okada and he wanted the IWGP World Heavyweight title. And then Cole came down and said, well, Okada might lose the title because he has to fight Jay White this weekend. Well, indeed, Jay White did win the title. So then we didn't know if Okada was going to show or not. So great surprise here. We not only got Zack Sabre Jr. coming out earlier, which they didn't really do anything with them, but it's a big story that Zack Sabre Jr. will be there, and we will see a new Blackpool Combat Club member, maybe Cesaro. But in addition to that, we got another huge surprise here. Okada is here, and that segment ended here. But later on, when they're running down the card, it is confirmed, people, for the IWGP World Heavyweight title in a 4-way match. It'll be Switchblade Jay White defending against the man he just beat for the title 2 or 3 weeks ago, Kazuchika Okada, and the former AEW champion Hangman Page, and the former NXT champion Adam Cole. Really crazy match right there. I'm looking forward to it. Another contender for match of the night for sure. And wow. So we go right from that to the back, and Tony Schiavone's with Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, and Stokely Hathaway, and we're told that Red Velvet got injured, and Stokely Hathaway then says that they're looking for a new baddie. Jade says that they got to be a top-notch B. Stokely says, ladies, keep the photos PG, please. And then the segment ends for an ad break. And I just laugh and I write, damn, that sucks for Red Velvet. You get injured and they're already moving on. So no confirmation if this injury is real. I'm assuming it is. They did blame Chris Statlander and Athena during this segment for the injury. Maybe that happened in one of the brawls that's been happening recently. So that's unfortunate. Red Velvet just had the best match of her career a week or two ago, whenever that was on Dynamite. It might have been Rampage, but one of the two for sure. It wasn't the YouTube show. So we went to ad break, like I said. When we get back, Tony Schiavone's in the back, and this time he's with Chris Statlander and Athena. Now, I didn't write down everything they've said here, but they do a really nerdy but slightly charming at the same time routine, just making fun of Jade, saying some of their catchphrases like, oh, maybe we can be the next baddie, and doing stuff like that. So it was nerdy but charming, and Chris and Athena make fun of the baddies, and they say Willow Nightingale is now on their side or something along those lines. So Willow Nightingale is on the it's formed an alliance with Chris Statlander and Athena. So that should be pretty cool going forward. Everything we've seen from Willow Nightingale's been amazing. So then we go back to the arena. And it's time for the women's match. And just like every week, it's the same thing with the women. The women get one match, they get a couple backstage segments, and always they have to be paired together. So if you notice, it's always like Jade Cargill in the back, and then it's going to be the one women's match. And just like every other time, it's they have to come out, and you can clearly tell everything about it is rushed. Typical, like the women always get their stuff cut and super rushed, just like WWE does. So it's no better than it's the same thing for both companies. It's always the women that get the short end of the straw. But anyway, Marina Shafir comes out. She's got her amazing music. It's like a really cold, chilling, scary but beautiful violin music, which really fits because Marina comes out all stone faced, looking like a killer, but she's also beautiful at the same time. So it's like a metaphor, and it's really cool. It fits her. Tony Storm's music then hits, which is like the exact opposite of Marina Shafir's music. So that was kind of jarring, almost startled me, like when Tony Storm's rock music hit, because it starts with like a wow was a guitar, and I'm like, whoa, because it was just soft violin music before that. But anyway, like I said, you can tell everything about it's rushed. This always happens. WWE does the same thing. I'm tired of it always being the women's matches that's just like everything's super rushed, and even the announcers are talking faster than usual. And but anyway, Marina starts out with some grappling mat based game. That's her game. She's a legitimate MMA grappler type. So, and she wrestles really stiff. And this was another stiff match. I mentioned in the preview, Marina Shafir's been wrestling so stiff lately. I hope Tony Storm can get out of this without an injury. We don't need another injury going in the cursed forbidden door at this point. But yeah, Tony ends up countering gets a sick shot. But Tony counters, but then right away a sick shot to the face. I think it was a kick, and it knocks Tony silly. Tony rolls out of the ring, and Nia Rose out of nowhere just hits a senton on Tony Storm, and we go to ad break. The referee didn't see it, and then again before Excalibur can even say like they're going to the pit, it stops him off right at pick when he says pitcher and pitcher break again. So we're really like trying to cram a lot in tonight. Uh, and again, all the women's matches are always rushed, and they always go to a pitcher and pitcher ad break within the first minute to 90 seconds every single time. Marina works over Tony with some different holds during that. Tony's on the verge of defeat with a straight jacket choke where she looks like she's about to pass out. When we get back from the break, Tony counters and hits a huge headbutt, which was pretty cool looking. Marina is able to throw Tony out of the ring, and then Marina follows it with a really good judo throw to the mat. That's another one where I'm scared of those kind of moves when people could get injured, especially how Forbidden Door's cursed. But she seemed all right. Tony counters a kick, then counters a kick into a tornado DDT. That looked beautiful. Tony blocks another judo throw and hits a German off of it. Then a huge hip attack into the corner, and that knocks Marina silly. Nia Rose then distracts Tony, but Tony's able to counter a pump handle slam into a roll up. 1, 2, 3. Tony Storm wins. Nia jumps Tony right after the bell. Marina's back up, and they double team. Thunder Rosa makes the save. So last time this happened, it was Tony Storm making the save on Thunder Rosa, but this time Thunder Rosa makes the saves, one-upping each other here. They double team Nia, and Tony hits Nia with the title. So now Tony's holding the title. She turns, her and Thunder Rosa stare down. Tony Storm has to hand the title back over. Thunder Rosa holds it up, and the segment ends. So decent segment, rushed as usual. Marina Shafir is always stiff in the ring. She's not everybody's cup of tea, but I like a variety in my wrestling, so I like having someone like her on the roster. She definitely does that style better than legit Layla Hirsch was doing. Nothing. I enjoy legit Layla Hirsch, who's unfortunately out with an injury right now. But go back to all those matches where legit Layla Hirsch is in like either a Dynamite or a pre-show setting, and the crowd is just so dead for those freaking matches, man. Anyway, right out of there, we go to Sting and Darby Allin in the back. They say that they think Kyle's afraid, not injured. Darby and Sting have two guys in mind, and it's going to be Shingo, Takagi, and Hiromu Takahashi out of the LIJ in New Japan. And wow, like I said, I wish it was Naito instead of Hiromu, but Hiromu was pretty cool on his own too. So, and then Shingo being there. If you haven't seen Shingo Takagi, you're in for a real treat. Just a real badass. He's got power moves. He's got agility. He's got sick shit. So, that's gonna be amazing. Then we go into the craziest Excalibur explaining what's going to be on Rampage and Forbidden Door, and then Blood and Guts as well. He tests to talk so fast in this that he actually slips over his words at a point, and he just gets really flustered. So this was the hardest and craziest one. I understand what some of the casual fans, or not quite the hardcore wrestling fans, or nerds like me, are saying they're getting way too much information thrown at them these last few weeks with IWGP this and NJPW that and Unite Empire this and who's that and who's this, and I understand it could definitely be a lot of information. But anyway, we find out what's on the Rampage card here. So first of all, it's going to be the DKC, who's out of the New Japan Pro Wrestling LA dojo. They have a Los Angeles dojo where they train not only Americans, but they'll send some of their recruits over as well, some of their young lions. And they have a weekly television show that they release on NJPW World every week called NJPW Strong. It's based in America, has a lot of Americans. So the DKC is one of those people there, and he's going to fight Hook on Rampage. And then also on Rampage, it's going to be Andrade El Idolo versus Rey Fenix. So two of the guys that were banned from being on Forbidden Door getting the wrestle here. And then we go to a video package about the Andrade and Rey Fenix. They're talking both about the match. Rey says that he remembers that low blow that eliminated him from the Battle Royal a few weeks ago. That was Andrade that gave Rey a low blow and then threw him out. And then Andrade just basically says that he's tranquilo and he doesn't care. He's not worried. So that's going to be a great match. Also on Rampage, it's going to be Jeff Cobb versus Cash Wheeler. That's going to be a nasty match. It's cool that Cash gets to have a match here where it's usually Dax that has to. So, and then on Forbidden Door, on the pre-show, the buy-in, it's going to be Gun Club. All three members of Gun Club, Billy Gunn, Colton Gunn, and Austin Gunn, teaming up with Max Caster versus the DKC, who, again, we're going to see on Rampage as well. And then three other people from the New Japan Los Angeles Dojo, also on NJPW Strong. So it's the DKC, Kevin Knight, Alex Coughlin, and Yuya Uemura. So in the pre-show, it's going to be the Gun Club, all three members teaming with Max Caster to form a four-man team against four of the New Japan Los Angeles Dojo recruits, or Young Lions, or however you want to call them. And then this is where I write, holy crap, they announce it's going to be a four-way match for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Switchblade Jay White, Adam Cole Bay, Hangman Adam Page, and Kazuchika Okada. That's going to be, I can't believe it. What a match. And like or like New Japan, they barely ever have like triple threats or four ways or anything like that. Mostly only singles match, tag match, and a whole lot of 6-man tag, 8-man tag, 10-man tag if it's on the early in the card, just to get everybody on the card. And then the few maybe title matches or grudge matches as well. So for the IWGP World Heavyweight title to be defended here in a four-way match against, like I said, we've got the current champion who just beat the former champion. That former champion's also in the match. We've got Hangman Page, who just recently lost the AEW World title, and then Adam Cole, who held the NXT title a bunch. So from all different organizations, a bunch of organizations that we all love, all four of them in one match for the New Japan's IWGP World Heavyweight title. That's crazy. So like I said, Excalibur runs down the entire card, has to talk so much, so fast, he stumbles over his words. And then this is where we're also told the mystery guy that Bryan Danielson was talking about is the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club. And then we're also told that the Darby, Sting, Shingo, and Hiromu team, they're called the Dudes with Attitudes, which is hilarious. After Excalibur finishes all that, Tony Schiavone laughs and asks Excalibur, "Can you run us through all that again?" And I laughed on that one because it was extra ridiculous. It's always ridiculous, but it was extra ridiculous. So Jericho comes down for the main event. He's down with Sammy Guevara and Ty Conte, and we go to a break once they get to the ring. When we come back, it's Lance Archer coming out. He joins Jericho. Then a big moment in AEW history as Hiroshi Tanahashi making his debut match on AEW television or AEW in general. And Tanahashi looks super excited. So Moxley then makes his entrance through the crowd. The crowd's super hot for this one. And William Regal is on commentary, and he's definitely amazing throughout. So all the cards set in play here, and just a great way to round off this great episode of Dynamite. So Jericho and Tanahashi have a great exchange in the ring to start out. They actually feuded in New Japan Pro Wrestling over the United States title in the past. So these two no strangers to each other. Moxley gets the tag in and brawls with Jericho on the outside. It's a one-sided brawl, all Moxley. Sammy Guevara has to grab Moxley's legs so that Jericho's now able to tag out. Lance Archer gets in, hits a huge shoulder tackle on Moxley, and we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. And yeah, I write down all 4 times that Excalibur has to send us to a picture-in-picture ad break. His sentence gets cut off before he can say picture-in-picture. It's pretty funny how much they were trying to cram in tonight. Jericho and Archer destroy Moxley the entire picture-in-picture ad break. Moxley's able to get knees up during a lion salt attempt from Jericho when we come back, and Tanahashi gets the hot tag. So Tanahashi knocks Archer off the apron and then starts to beat up Jericho. We get a really nice looking middle rope senton, picture perfect on Jericho. Jericho kicks out at 2. We get a sling blade countered by Jericho, and then a walls of Jericho is attempted but countered by Tanahashi. So countering all the big signature moves here. Those two know each other really well from their past feud. Tony Schiavone then tells us that Tony Khan will keep this match on the air for as long as it takes if we go past the allotted time, but they did not go past their allotted times. They fit everything in. We get a striking exchange now between Jericho and Tanahashi. That was great. We get a Judas effect, but it's countered. So a Judas effect countered. Tanahashi hits his high fly flow to a standing Jericho who rolls through it. And if you don't know what the high fly flow is, it's like a frog splash. So this version was to a standing opponent off the middle rope. He's got different versions of the high fly flow, which is his finisher. Usually if he hits the standing version, it's just a signature move. So this time he hits the high fly flow on the standing Jericho who rolls right through it and puts him right into the walls of Jericho right off of that. So that was a key moment of this match. Lance Archer then takes out Moxley on the outside, but Moxley makes the save. Because Tanahashi was still in the walls of Jericho. So now all 4 of them in the ring. Tanahashi sling blade to Archer. Moxley and Archer then get tagged in. Now are the illegal men. We get a blackout attempt by Lance Archer countered into a paradigm shift and tag over to Tanahashi again. We get the high fly flow off the top rope onto the laying down Archer this time. 1, 2, 3. The match is over. Regal screams on the commentary that Sunday Tanahashi will have to kill Moxley to win. I don't think he said that verbatim, but that's what he meant. It was pretty cool. And then so yeah, superstar matchup here. That was great. There's 4 minutes left, so I figured there's time for something. What's going to happen here? The crowd starts cheering. I'm not quite sure why yet. We don't see, but then we see the camera pan, and this Eddie Kingston is starting to punch Jericho. He's run down. Wheeler Yuta runs down to join the fray, and I think he might have had someone else with him, but Minoru Suzuki out of nowhere, so no music plays or anything for this. And Minoru Suzuki, with his hands in his pockets, casually strolls down and starts out to save Jericho. and Wheeler Yuta meets Suzuki halfway, so they start to trade, exchange punches. Shota and Mino comes down, who's part of that tag match with Jericho and them and Suzuki. Yuta's in that match as well. So Shota Umino comes down. Then Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Ange, and Daniel Garcia of the Jericho Appreciation rundown. Ortiz and Santana rundown. While all this is happening and all this brawling is happening, about 12 people are brawling outside. Moxley and Tanahashi are just calmly staring each other down in the ring. Nobody else is in the ring with them. And JR tells us, "Thanks for watching. Goodbye," as we fade out with Moxley and Tanahashi staring each other down. So holy crap. Crazy ending to a crazy show. Great stuff. I was a big fan of this show tonight for sure. And yeah, I mean, I pretty much explained all the stuff I need to. Like, I think it'll be Cesaro versus Zack Sabre. Well, let's think about that main event though. Is Moxley 100% gonna win it? If it wasn't for G1, which is the biggest tournament in the world, and it lasts a month long, it goes this year from July uh like 13th or 16th until August 18th or 20th, somewhere around there, which means it's almost impossible for Tanahashi to get the AEW title because he won't be able to be on TV from like until August. So until like the end of August. So I don't think that would be a thing that happens. I don't think they would give Tanahashi the interim title just to then have him not be on AEW and then come have the match with CM Punk. I mean, it's a possibility, but if Tanahashi does get the title, that's what would happen. We might get Tanahashi for a couple weeks on Dynamite after that, but then he's got to be in G1 for over a month. So I don't think that'll be happening. Moxley's more than likely going to win it, but it's going to be a great match. As far as the Jay White match, I can't see Jay White losing the title. Not when he just won it. But that doesn't mean it's again not going to be a great match. That match has the potential to be better than Moxley and Tanahashi. Moxley and Tanahashi are definitely going to tell more of your slow-paced storytelling, classic main event match, which is going to be great, and more of a spot fest type craziness match with the four-way Okada, Jay White, Adam Cole, and Hangman Page. So that match is just going to be totally insane. Um, but yeah, everything on this card pretty much looks cool. I really hope Cesaro gets there. I'm just going to take a quick look right now and see if anything else I'm missing. I'm going to take a look at that card. So let me just go on the website real quick. But yeah, I hope you guys are just excited. Even if you're not if you're not familiar with New Japan, I hope it hasn't been too much of an overload for you guys. I know some of the people, that's why the ratings are down, just kind of needed a break after all the information overload and all the new people from New Japan. So that kind of made people like, maybe I'll come back when it's Blood and Guts and the New Japan stuff is over and Forbidden Door is over with. So I'm just going to take a look here. Updated 3 minutes ago, so it's definitely the most up-to-date card. Like I said, the main event is Moxley versus Tanahashi for the AEW interim world title, IWGP heavyweight title. So this isn't updated at all. Never mind. But we can go through the rest of the matches real quick. I still think Jay White, like I said, is going to retain his title. The All Atlantic Championship, that one's kind of a toss up. But most people assume that Miro will win the All Atlantic Championship. But it could definitely be Malikai or Pac. I think Ishii is the longest shot, but it wouldn't be terrible or out of the realm of possibility. But again, Ishii is also part of the G1. So if he wins the title, he's basically not going to be around or available until the end of August. So you can almost rule Ishii out of that because of that. Again, like with a lot of these co-branded matches, you kind of know who's going to win because of things like that. But it doesn't mean you can't just enjoy the matches for what they are. Um, but yeah, I think Miro will win as well. He's definitely the favorite to win. I'll go with the favorite on that one. The United States heavyweight title, same thing. I don't. Will Ospreay just won the title 2 or 3 weeks ago. Orange Cassidy probably won't be winning it. or Will Ospreay is in G1. So these people that are in G1 potentially could lose the title. There's this one's not as far of like Jay White. There's no chance in hell he's losing his title. Will Ospreay could potentially lose the Orange Cassidy, if you remember. It might even be Juice Robinson that was supposed to be champion, but then when Juice Robinson couldn't show up to defend his title, it was then Will Ospreay versus Sonata for the title. So Will Ospreay doesn't even have the physical title belt yet. Um, and I assume that we'll see Juice Robinson at Forbidden Door either during this match or right after it. So this one is a little more closer to 50-50, other than like Jay White's 100% keeping his title, or at least 99%. But Will Ospreay probably like 60% keeping the title, 40% Orange Cassidy could win the United States title. And then for the AEW Women's World title, this one again, kind of a 50-50 toss up. It's Thunder Rosa versus Toni Storm. I could definitely see Toni Storm winning. I have so little confidence in AEW having Thunder Rosa win that I even thought that she might have lost. She might lose to Marina Shafir the other week, and that was just a randomly thrown together match. But I have such little confidence in their confidence in Thunder Rosa that I keep thinking she'll lose. So maybe a new champion here, Toni Storm. Like I was saying, I think I mentioned it earlier. This is the only match that doesn't have any New Japan Pro Wrestling uh, people in it, and that's because New Japan Pro Wrestling doesn't have a women's division. What New Japan Pro Wrestling does instead is they have a partnership with Stardom. And so that kind of makes sense, and that's kind of cool that Toni Storm is the competitor here, because Toni Storm definitely made a name for herself in Stardom. So almost a Stardom representative here, which is the New Japan uh, partner. So that the one of the other matches of the night contenders, FTR versus United Empire's Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb versus Roppongi Vice versus Trent and Rocky Romero. Winner take all, one fall to a finish. Ring of Honor world titles and IWGP tag titles. This is again, I think this is definitely one that's like 33% to each competitor. I think anybody can win, and then another 1% tells me maybe it's a 1% chance of a no decision, or so that everybody keeps their titles. But I could make a case for all three of these teams that could win the title. FTR, I'm sure IWGP would love to have FTR over in Japan for a few shows, and if FTR wins the titles here, they would probably have to go to Japan to drop them at a point. So I'm sure that they would be okay with that. United Empire, I could see them winning the ROH titles. Right now, there is no ROH TV show, so it doesn't technically really matter if they're defended or not. And then that doesn't mean that they couldn't be defended in Japan. And then Roppongi Vice, they're veterans of both ROH and IWGP, or I mean New Japan. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for them winning both titles. So I'm really looking forward to that. I love matches where you don't know who's gonna win. I know I was saying up here, like, just because you know who's gonna win doesn't mean it's not a bad match, but it's also nice to have some matches where you don't know who's gonna win. So this is probably the most one where it could be anybody, even though there's titles on the line, two titles on the line, in fact. So of course it's Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki teaming up, and they'll take on Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino. We've got Blood and Guts coming up in just a week's time, next Dynamite. So Chris Jericho, and Eddie Kingston, definitely that feud goes over here. It should be a hard hitting match. It's got Minoru Suzuki in it. You can guarantee he's going to beat up Shota Umino at some point and probably make Wheeler Yuta bloody. We might get blood in this match. So another one of the matches just announced tonight: Zack Sabre Jr. versus a mystery opponent. It was confirmed that it was supposed to be Bryan Danielson, but Bryan Danielson got injured. So there's a hand picked replacement by Bryan Danielson himself, who will also be the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm assuming it'll be Cesaro. Cesaro makes sense, and Cesaro would have a great match against Zack Sabre Jr. But it could literally be anybody in the world. We'll just have to wait and see. But like I said earlier, Zack Sabre Jr. has a good match against anybody. So no matter who it is, it's going to be good. And I think the only other match, other than the pre-show match that had the Gun Club and Max Caster versus a bunch of LA Dojo New Japan guys, the other match announced tonight is an 8-man tag. It'll be Sting, Darby Allin teaming up with LIJ members from New Japan, Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi, and they will team up to fight against Bullet Club members Young Bucks, Hikuleo, and El Phantasmo. And if you haven't ever seen El Phantasmo, you're in for a treat. He's a great high flyer, hybrid. Kind of think of him maybe like a Angelico type. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Maybe I'll do a preview show at some point before there, but I will be back on Friday for Rampage. So I'll probably just do the preview show there if anything comes up. But I basically already did the preview show here as well. So probably no preview show now that I'm thinking about it. But I will be back for Rampage on Friday. Also on this channel, you can find all the New Japan results. I go through all the reviews there. Kushida just returned yesterday after a long hiatus. He just got out of his NXT contract. Speaking of NXT, I do very in-depth NXT reports, and the reports today is that Triple H stormed back into the NXT locker room and said, "I'm back." So we might be seeing the black and gold back very soon. That would mean much more competition for AEW when it comes to signing talent. As of right now, WWE has no interest in any indie darlings or these guys that make a name for themselves in the independents. Right now, WWE wants big guys and sexy women that really don't have any previous um in the business. They want people that were never wrestlers and they train them themselves. So with Triple H back in the fold, potentially we'll have to keep our ears close to the ground on that one. But if Triple H does take control back of NXT and changes it back to the black and gold era, then you do have more competition for AEW on the signing market and the free agent market. So something to keep your ear to the ground, even if you're not a WWE or NXT fan. But yeah, I have the WWE and NXT reviews on this channel as well. And I also do Impact, NWA. I'm thinking about adding MLW soon. And like I said, I even do the New Japan Strong show that has all the LA Dojo. So I, in fact, do know all those 4 guys in the LA Dojo match against the Gun Club and Max Caster. So I'm going to get going. And thanks for watching. Great 2 thumbs up, Dynamite. I'm sure the ratings will be down again, um, or at least kind of the same as last week, as in bad. But don't worry, those ratings will return when Blood and Guts happens next week. Some people kind of checked out because there was too much information and random names and people that they didn't know all happening at them at once. So people decided they weren't going to order Forbidden Door, and that combined with CM Punk, MJF, and Bryan Danielson not being on TV either. I think a lot of people who are regular watchers of AEW decided to um, just take a little bit of a break, and they'll come back around Blood and Guts. So next week, not only Blood and Guts, but I assume we'll see MJF. There is a possibility that MJF shows up at Forbidden Door, maybe screwing over somebody in the AEW World Title match, including maybe just destroying both people and taking the title and leaving. And maybe we don't have an interim champion at the end of the night. So definitely some things to think about. But yeah, I think MJF will be back next week. Blood and Guts should be amazing. It'll be here in my hometown of Detroit. Unfortunately, I won't be there, but I will be here to recover it for you guys. And I'll be back Friday for Rampage. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.